Poppy Playtime's new game, Project Playtime, just got revealed the other day, and the response has been somewhat mixed to say the least, with many people criticizing the game supposedly being pay to win, them apparently copying from other successful titles, and even some hate regarding the new gameplay and cinematic trailers with the reveal of the new character Boxy Boo. So as I'm sure you guys know, Poppy Playtime is no stranger to controversy. However, up until recently, they managed to keep the hate to a minimum, especially after a surprisingly successful Chapter 2 launch, with there being even more hype for Chapter 3 releasing in 2023. However, this new game, Project Playtime, has sort of brought Poppy Playtime and mob games up into public debate once again. If you haven't seen the trailer, Project Playtime is basically just a multiplayer game where you collect a bunch of toy pieces through tasks, while somebody who is a monster must try and kill them. This free-to-play title is meant to hold people off until Chapter 3's release sometime next year, but the game's launch may not be off to the greatest start, because the first problem that people had with Project Playtime was their potential sketchy monetization programs inside of their new game. See, like I said, Project Playtime is free to play, and so it's assumed that means the game will use some sort of in-app purchases in order to compensate their money. In fact, the Steam page itself already told us that there will be an in-game currency called toy tickets, and also a 100 level battle pass system, which is already setting off alarms in people's heads. We saw in the trailer there were going to be ways to unlock emotes, skins, and even new grab packs, setting the precedent that Project Playtime was going to heavily focus on monetizing their game through in-game purchases, which people are critical of, especially after their many exposés criticizing the original game's dodgy monetization systems through merchant DLC, which are old news at this point. Anyway, what really angered people the most about this was the fact that in the Steam description, it said, you can purchase and upgrade perks with toy tickets, the confirmed in-game currency I just mentioned, essentially making it sound like Project Playtime was going to be a pay-to-win game, charging purchases to get better perks in the game, essentially giving people with more money to spend an inherent advantage, which obviously is a major problem since who would want to play a game that purely depends on how much money you can spend on it. Luckily though, this would be cleared up pretty quickly because they would actually edit the Steam page to confirm the toy tickets currency, whatever that is, can only be earned through actually playing the game rather than paying money, which is amazing to hear. And they also said in a Discord FAQ the same exact thing, where they also confirmed console and mobile ports too, which is really nice. But in a day and age where games like Overwatch 2 are reinventing monetization in the worst ways possible, I understand the concerns. And with that being said, I wonder how the skin system will work in the end, especially since they said the toy tickets were the only spendable currency in the game, therefore creating the assumption that the skins in-game will cost some sort of real money rather than any sort of in-game currency you can purchase like V-Bucks, which is also somewhat concerning because it would kind of suck if there was no way at all to earn any cosmetics for free, unlike other games that usually have some sort of unpaid way of unlocking smaller things. Anyway, the next thing I saw people complaining about a lot was the game and its actual concept. See, like I said, Project Playtime is simply just a game where you collect items with a group of friends while also running away from one more powerful enemy trying to stop you in your trails, which while most people are willing to agree that concept sounded just fine, it wouldn't take long for people to make comparisons to other multiplayer titles who did the same thing. More specifically, people, even including myself, were quick to compare this game to more established titles like Dead by Daylight, where the concept is basically the same, but instead of workers for the factory running from monsters with the goal of building a toy, it's survivors running from killers with the goal of activating a bunch of generators around the map. And there would also be some minor comparisons to spin-off titles from other respective indie horror games in the same genre as Poppy Playtime, like Dark Deception with Monsters Immortals or Hello Neighbor with Secret Neighbor. All in all, these games generally revolve around similar concepts, and so naturally fans from other titles were quick to call Project Playtime a copycat of all of these games, especially since they've already been accused ad nauseum in the past of taking huge inspiration from other games like Bendy and the Ink Machine. But to Project Playtime's defense, I don't think it's really fair to compare similar concepts and jump to the conclusion that they're immediately rip-offs from each other. Like, sure, you can argue that Project Playtime took inspiration from Dead by Daylight and whatnot. In fact, I'm willing to bet they probably did, but I don't think calling it a rip-off or some sort of clone is really fair, especially since we are comparing a game about toys coming to life to a game about serial killers that just both happen to be ASIMs. Because if Project Playtime stole from Dead by Daylight, then Dead by Daylight must have stolen from Friday the 13th and so on, but I'll leave that argument up to you guys in the comments below. Anyway, the biggest thing by far that I've seen talked about from the community though is the design of Project Playtime, and more specifically the design of its newest character, Boxy Boxy Boo. The first complaint that I saw being brought up, albeit not too concerning, was the fact that the friendly characters honestly don't look all that great, or at least accurate to their cinematic trailer. See, in the Steam description, the player is supposed to be a resource extraction specialist, and we can even see what these extraction specialists look like in the cinematic trailer, and they look pretty good. However, in the actual game, the characters just look more like refurbished versions of the player from Chapter 2, which is already not the most flattering and complex design to begin with. I don't know if these are placeholders, but I really do think they could be designed a lot better, along with the UI. Because if you look at the actual trailer, as I mentioned in other videos, the UI looks incredibly bad, with the letters constantly overlapping on top of each other and the design itself not being really visually appealing at all. But I'm pretty confident this will be changed in the future, just because it's not uncommon for games to have bad UIs to start as they're testing and then polish them out in the future. It just feels weird they needed to show this off in the actual gameplay trailer, especially when compared to other models like the grab pack skins that look absolutely stunning in my opinion. But most importantly, I think we need to bring up the elephant in the room, or the Jack in the Box, the My Singing Monster, Super Meat Boy, Lego Mixel 2017 Roblox hat. I'm talking about Boxy Boo. See, Poppy Playtime, in my opinion, has some of the highest quality animation and character designs than any other indie horror game. However, especially after Mommy Longlegs, people have been critical of the game's design, to say the least. And after Boxy Boo was released, people had an absolute heyday memeing on this character, saying things like how not to make a horror game monster, or how do you make such garbage design and then somehow make it worse by naming it Boxy Boo. People absolutely hate the design of this new character, and most of the criticisms are revolved around the fact that it's a Jack in the Box themed toy. However, instead of making it some sort of clown or even ghost like its name suggests in Boxy Boo, it's just some kind of blocky monster. Heck, even Screen Rant made an article on all of this saying the goofy design of this latest Poppy Playtime creature threatens to make the co-op game less scary, which to some extent I actually kind of agree with. In my opinion, I think that the face of this character is still really scary, especially compared to his cardboard cutout, which looks absolutely adorable, but it definitely did strike me as a bit weird when the toy was named Boxy Boo, and it was clearly shaped like a Jack in the Box, so I was fully expecting either something that looked like a clown or something that looked like a ghost. But instead we got a monster that looks noticeably different than what I was personally expecting. Not that it's bad per se, but I see how it could feel out of character for some. But what are my opinions on this mixed bag of reviews on the trailer? Well, honestly, I do agree with a lot of the complaints, especially with some of the critiques of the newest character, Boxy Boo. But overall, it is a free game, so I'm hoping at the very least most people are willing to give it a chance, especially since despite the negative nature of this video, a lot of people were also, on the other hand, still very supportive of these trailers, and some people even had to admit that Project Playtime looked really good despite them not even enjoying the first chapters of the main game, which is great. But I guess now I turn to you guys. Let me know your thoughts on these new trailers. For me, it doesn't affect much and I'm still super excited, but I do see a lot of the concerns. Subscribe and peace.